What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? How you
Hey,
doing?
gotcha.
You wanna know the deal? Hearts and likes only. Share,
Hey,
share, share. What's up, Ed? How you doing, man?
good. You gonna be reporting about what's going on in North Carolina?
Yeah, that's actually what I'm about to do. It's been a
Okay.
it's been a man. I can't say I'm surprised. I've lived in North Carolina long enough to not be surprised by anything the Republicans there do.
It seems pretty intense, though.
I mean, it's kind of like destroying the fabric of democracy and reversing everything the founding fathers did. But other than that, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, man, we're recording live on YouTube tonight for the first time, also.
Okay, very good. What
Yeah,
am I
it's gonna
doing
be
here?
fun.
What is this? This is
How's everybody
PIR.
doing? How's everybody doing? What's up, Facebook Live family? I need y'all to share this video. Hearts and likes only. Hearts and likes only for those watching on Facebook. Share into as many groups as you please, preferably all of them. We're gonna be getting started here in about 2 minutes.
Okay, you're live here everywhere, so you can start anytime you want.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Um, well, good afternoon if you're on the West Coast. Good evening if you're on the East Coast. And like I always say in Europe, I have no idea what time it is, but good afternoon and good evening to you just in case. You are now tuning in to Mi Casa es Su Casa, the only place where it is not only acceptable to speak politics at the dinner table, but it is mandatory. And for the first time ever, we are not only streaming on awakeradio.us, we are not only streaming on Facebook Live, but we are also streaming on YouTube for the first time. So, shout out to everybody who is watching this from YouTube. Thank you for the support and the love. We've gotten a lot of subscribers in the last 2 weeks. I believe we actually got just about close to 400 or 500 subscribers in the last 2 weeks, and we're growing rapidly on Facebook, on YouTube, Twitter, everywhere. And I just want to thank you all who have been a part of this crazy, crazy journey that we've started. And I also want to give a word for one of our sponsors, Sebastian Technosis, who has also helped incredibly with this, with essentially helping to promote our brand. And if you are, um, trying to promote a business, trying to promote yourself, then take a look. Take a look at Sebastian Technosis, and they will be able to help you do that. Um, oh wow, we have a lot to talk about tonight. I really don't even know at this point where to start, but I am going to start by saying it's possibly the end of democracy. Um, and if you understand what I'm saying, or if you've been paying attention to North Carolina, then you would understand what I'm referring to. Because in North Carolina, the Republican Party tried to hold an emergency session to strip the governor and the Supreme Court of their ability to be governor and Supreme Court. Um, at first, when I heard this, I know a lot of my friends, my political friends, can be a little sensationalist. So I'm like, maybe it's not that bad. Like, maybe it's, they're doing what they do, but they can't take the power away from the governor. They can't take the power from the. Oh, no, I looked it up. They definitely are trying to take the power away from the governor and Supreme Court. And they're very, very, very salty about the fact that their little governor, who lost the state billions of dollars, did not win. Um, what's really insane to me is it's not like Pat McCrory didn't have an opportunity to redeem himself. In fact, as most of you all, it's not South. Everybody keeps thinking it's South Carolina. South Carolina was not the bathroom bill state. It was North Carolina. South Carolina has its issues, but this issue in particular happens to belong to North Carolina. Unfortunately, we have to own that. But Pat McCrory had a chance to redeem himself when the bathroom bill, quote unquote bathroom bill, was more than about the bathroom. Just in case you all didn't know, it was pretty much an open invitation to discriminate. But once the bathroom bill was initiated, Pat McCrory could have knocked it down. He didn't, and when he didn't take that action, for those of you who didn't know, the All-Star game was actually the NBA All-Star game was supposed to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. You know how I know? Well, because I was supposed to go. I'm not going anymore because it's in New Orleans now. For those of you who watch basketball, I'm sure you realize how ironic that is. But because of that, we lost the All-Star game. And you're talking about the All-Star game is like celebrity weekend for basketball players, and people go out. I mean, the hotels were sold out a year in advance. That's how big of a deal the All-Star game is. And if to make matters worse, we lost the NCAA championship games that were supposed to be taking place in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I could go on for days about all the stuff we lost, but let's just say shit rolled downhill. We lost hundreds of millions of dollars. And Pat McCrory, instead of realizing his mistakes, saying, you know what, this wasn't a good idea. I mean, morally and ethically it wasn't a good idea, but monetarily it wasn't a good idea either. He decided to double down. And then we got sued by the federal government for multiple billions of dollars. So on top of us losing money from businesses and entertainment, we also lost money from the actual government itself suing us because Pat McCrory doesn't know when to say when. So, of course, you have these things called elections, and when your executive is not doing what he needs to do, you get him out. So, North Carolina, although they failed miserably in other areas of the state trying to get out the crazy Republicans who have been tearing the state to shreds, they did one thing right because they took the help of the Republicans as well, who also did not like Pat McCrory causing them money. They got rid of Pat McCrory. And they put in Roy Cooper. Now let me premise this. I'm not a big fan of Roy Cooper. I'm going to put that out there. I'm not a big fan of Roy Cooper. However, one of my good friends, one of my idols, mentors in high school, is on his transitional team for education, and he's putting good people around him. And so I will give him his chance, like I say we should do for everybody. But Roy Cooper did win. He won thoroughly. And given the mess that Pat McCrory had put North Carolina in, it makes sense. We had a really horrible education system. Teachers were getting paid much worse than almost any other state in the nation. The economy was booming. But people like to give credit to Pat McCrory for the economy booming, and that simply isn't the case. The truth is, the economy was booming because we have Duke, a top 5 private school in the country, and UNC, a top 5 public school in the country, and we have Monsanto, which I hate talking about, but we also we have Research Triangle Park, and that's where the 2 doctors got the Nobel Peace Prize for curing cancer. Like, we have things like that in North Carolina, despite most of everything within the last year about us pretty much being about the bathroom bill. So we have a lot going for us. Apple was going to set up a company down there. Google was going to set up a company. I mean, we had so much, and it really had nothing to do with Pat McCrory so much as it had to do with the fact that North Carolina has a lot of amazing people, especially intelligent people, especially in the Triangle area, with kids graduating from just some of the most prestigious schools in the country. So he ruined it. Roy Cooper took over. Republicans didn't like that. Not only did Roy Cooper take over, but a Supreme Court justice, a Democratic Supreme Court justice, also took a Supreme Court seat in North Carolina. So we are here. The Republican Party responds with trying to undermine democracy. And this is setting an absolutely horrible precedent going forward. It's scary. It's insanely scary. Not because of this was like Alabama, this wouldn't happen in Alabama. So this isn't scary for states like that. This is scary for states like Wisconsin, who is constantly having a struggle or a battle between Democrats and Republicans, much like North Carolina. This is a struggle for like states like Jersey, states like Ohio, states. I mean, there's a lot of swings, state party swing states, and right now, because don't get it twisted. I'm calling out the Republicans right now because they're the ones who are doing wrong after doing wrong for so long in that state. But this sets a horrible precedence because this is something that establishment Democrats could possibly do in the future when they regain power. This exact moment is why you always hear me preach. Whenever people say we need to create a foundation of the Green Party and build up from the ground up, I say absolutely, let's do it. When people say we need to reform the Democratic Party and we need to kick out the establishment and become true progressives, I say yes, let's do it. They say we need to shape up the Republican Party and get them back to being actual fiscal conservatives and not just fear-mongering political assholes. I say absolutely, let's do it. We need to bolster the Libertarian Party. We need to bolster the Working Families Party because we need more democracy, not less. Always, 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 always more democracy, not less. Because when any one party gets that much power in the way that we're seeing displayed in North Carolina, this is the result. People are fighting. People are protesting. The federal government obviously doesn't approve of this, and it's probably going to have to be dealt with in the Supreme Court. However, I think that the Republicans unfortunately anticipated this in North Carolina, and they know that their Supreme Court justice is almost 100% likely to be Republican. The sad truth is, even if Hillary Clinton won, and sometimes I want to say to myself, like, maybe it would be different. Maybe it would be different if Hillary Clinton was in office, because then I think to myself, no, it would just, the same corporate ties would still be present, and we have absolutely no idea if the Supreme Court justice would be in fact liberal, because Hillary Clinton would have to do so much to get her bills passed through, like TPP, for example. She would have to do so much to get those bills passed through a dominantly Republican Congress, a dominantly Republican Senate, that she would have to give leeway somewhere. And this is Hillary Clinton. She doesn't actually care about anybody else, nor does she care about her electorate, which is why she went ghost after she lost. She would give up the Supreme Court. I have 100%. I have 100% confidence in that. So this kind of goes back to something I've been saying for quite some time, and that is, well, once Bernie Sanders lost this race, we are facing the ultimate blowback. Feel how you want to feel about him. I still love and appreciate what he's done. I don't agree with all of his decisions, but you know what? That's fine. I know he's honest. And I know that he wants the best for America and the rest of the world. So and I also know the result. I physically see the results. I look at the protests in Standing Rock. I look at the protests. I can't say the quote unquote anti-Trump protests because, well, most of those people were just pro-Hillary protesters. So that's like, yeah, I'm half and half about that. But if we had the fire whenever Bernie Sanders was getting cheated blatantly in front of our faces, there wasn't even an attempt to cover it up. They laughed as Debbie Wasserman Schultz sat there, looked on camera, and said, I'm not biased. I think we're acting very even-handedly. And laughed as Hillary supporters bought it. Debbie Wasserman Schultz supporters didn't even buy it. She was booed at the convention by her own delegation. We never made an attempt to reconcile that. And so what we are seeing right now so clearly is the result of skipping steps in democracy. Yes, election fraud has always been present. Voter fraud to a much smaller extent. But this was a combination of not just election fraud from the traditional definition of people joining, politicians committing it. It was politicians collaborating with consultants, collaborating with super PACs, collaborating with media, collaborating with volunteers, putting people from Hillary Clinton's campaign into Bernie Sanders' campaign. Robert Dempsey, who was avidly Hillary Clinton's super establishment Democrat, bankrupt the Democrat, or put the Democratic Party in North Carolina $50,000 in debt, as he was the executive director of the North Carolina Democratic Party. This guy somehow ends up in Bernie Sanders' campaign after being an utter failure, an alcoholic, putting the Democratic Party $50,000 in debt, and then some, ends up as the state director in Bernie Sanders' campaign. These are the tactics that we saw used, and we're honestly surprised at first of all, at what Republicans would do to keep power away from the Dems, and we're also surprised at the result of the behavior of the Dems. Now let's I want to also clear the air on this, because for those of you who don't know, I am avidly anti-party, if you will. I'm not really the loyal type when it comes to politics, because at 27 years of age, I've still seen enough politics and been involved in enough that I trust individuals. I don't trust parties. I trust individuals. I don't trust motives. I trust individuals, and that's it. And you have to earn that trust, no matter what party you belong to. I have really good friends who are Republican. I have really good friends who are Democrats. I have a lot of great friends who are libertarian, but they're not actually libertarian. It just looks good to say you're libertarian on Facebook. It's funny, whenever really intelligent people don't want to be associated with Republicans, but also think Democrats are, they just have their beef with Democrats, and they have all these false narratives in their head about what democratic socialism is, that they gotta say, I think I'm a libertarian. I think I'm a libertarian. Yeah, about that. Anyway, that's a different discussion. But I have friends in all these categories, so I'm very anti-party. And what also isn't understood is, remember what I just said about Robert Dempsey, former executive director of the North Carolina Democratic Party, and also the former one of Bernie Sanders' state directors. The Democratic Party of North Carolina is not innocent. They are. If anybody in North Carolina is involved politically, who is watching this live stream, listening to this station right now, they will tell you that party is corrupt. I mean, corrupt to the extent that I remember I was listening to a story from a good friend, Chris Teleska, has been involved in the Democratic Party of North Carolina probably before I was born. Literally, as Hillary Clinton was clearing out her office after getting her butt whooped, we had a senator, she was running for senator at the time, come right in, take over all of her equipment, take over all of her files, all of her data, and use it to run. And she ran successfully, actually. That's illegal. That is illegal. But that also lets you know that there was some type of relationship there. Now, for those, once again, those of you who didn't hear me earlier, who were just not joining, Monsanto is also in North Carolina, in Research Triangle Park. North Carolina and Virginia, but specifically North Carolina, that is Hillary's undisclosed stomping ground. And people really don't understand to what extent the establishment has a hold of North Carolina. In fact, the very reason that North Carolina Democrats, for whatever reason, keep getting their butts kicked is because of the establishment hold and the establishment approach that North Carolina Democrats have. So as much as I am ashamed that the Republicans are trying to undermine democracy in such a way, we also need to understand that the Democrats had their share, their fair share in their hand, and the results of what we're about to see, which is scary. So you need to call, if you live in North Carolina, call your senators, call your representatives, call the mayor, call your mayor, call everybody, town council members, whoever, everybody. Keep an eye out on your news feed if you're on Facebook or Twitter, and find out, how you can help. If you got to go help protest, get your butt down there, help protest, because this isn't an assault on North Carolina's democracy. This is setting a horrible precedence going forward for the entire country. So, moving on. Oh, Mr. President Obama, I am so tired of you looking at me in my face and telling me lies and insulting the intelligence of the American people. And it's getting really old. I am so sick of the obvious motives, the very obvious motives that you and your establishment lackeys and Mr. James Comey, who decided to come and join your team recently after saying, oh no, there was no legitimate proof that Russia hacked the elections or is trying to influence the elections for Trump. And then all of a sudden, hey, we need you to come out or we'll blackmail you. I'm not saying this actually happened, but it's what it looks like happened. All of a sudden, he comes out and is like, oh, yeah, I know we said this right before the elections took place, but now that Hillary actually lost and we thought she was going to win, yeah. Listen, James Comey, listen, bro. Listen. Nobody takes your word seriously at all. You set the most horrible precedents, and there is tangible results and lawyers can justify tangible results of the precedents you set, where people are destroying evidence, people are pleading innocent and saying, well, I didn't mean to, and are getting off. They're getting off. I'm telling you, this is happening across the country. Using Hillary Clinton's federal case as precedents. After you said she's incompetent, after you said that she lied, after you said that she destroyed things but she didn't have intention to, I don't know what that means, but whatever. You claimed that Hillary Clinton was guilty and then said, but she's not guilty, and then disappeared off the face of the planet. Now, you did this without going to the NSA after the NSA said openly, you could have got her emails from us. You know that, right? Even after she destroyed them, we still had them. They approached him and said that. So you had all this ability to prosecute or at least recommend to indict, and you decided not to. And after the FBI, because this is what's funny about it. The FBI actually generally, of course, it had to get approved through Comey, but in the New York Times article, the FBI generally said, no, there's no direct link to Trump. Get out of here. Like, that's nonsense. And then James Comey puts his name back out there. James Comey himself says, Putin, what did he say? In the CNN article, he said, Intel analysis shows Putin approved election hacking. Now, there is so much irony to that statement, I'm not exactly sure where to begin. Well, first of all, let me just say this. If you're watching, because this is where stuff is about to get juicy. It's about to get real. If you're watching, share. If you're already watching, like, and love. If you're on YouTube, please share this link to wherever you're at, because it's about to get juicy. It's it's ironic because let's just start with CNN. It's ironic because CNN then says in the same article that they said Putin approved election hacking, It says their source. It says neither of their sources, because I believe there were two, actually knows the intelligence organization that directly links Putin to the attack. So you just quote anonymous sources now, and that's headline news. Now, I think we should delve a little bit deeper into why this is beautifully ironic. For those of you who have been paying attention to the recount, CNN tries to make a claim from anonymous sources that Putin hacked the elections. Now, if you've been paying attention to the recount, who is the only one who is just unequivocally benefited from election fraud? That is so weird. That is actually Hillary Clinton. Actually, that's what's so funny about this entire thing. It's hilarious. This isn't in just Wisconsin. She benefited from election fraud by stealing several thousand votes, and now Great Place and Occupy Dems are trying to focus this election recount on Trump simply because of the people who are investing in this recount. So strategically on their behalf, it makes sense why they're not saying what I'm about to tell you. But the whole 30,000 plus votes that Hillary ended up stealing in Wisconsin that for whatever reason aren't being reapplied, I guess because they don't know where they go. But yes, Hillary Clinton stole 30,000 votes in Wisconsin. Then in Detroit, Wayne County specifically, but Detroit, minority populated, heavily Democratic leaning. In Michigan, Hillary Clinton, of course, destroyed Trump 2-1. What would you expect, right? Now, here's what we didn't expect. Hillary Clinton got about 517,000 votes, roughly. They go to try to initiate the recount. 37% of the voting machines in Detroit could not, or they couldn't, they had more votes than people who voted on the machines. It's like ballot stuffing, but with machines. Well, that's really awkward, right? Because now we know how if you pay attention to this, is what I always say, you gotta do your research, pay attention, look for patterns. Now, there's two reasons why this is funny, and that whenever people come to, I hope they're watching right now. They always say, Niko, what's your proof this was Hillary? I don't want to use my common sense and deductive reasoning. That's insane. I need you to think for me. And if you say anything that I disagree with, then you're just stupid and a conspiracy theorist. And it's so crazy how all of a sudden election fraud is just in 2016 conspiracy theory. That's really, really weird. But nonetheless, what's funny is that Republicans take votes away. They suppress votes. They make it look like what is being committed is voter fraud, which is the person is voting. So then they take away those votes from the machine or take away those votes from the ballots by duplicating names in that minority communities that are very similar, because in using this cross state reference system to see if they voted in another state. Like, so if a name like Joe Brown, even if it was Joe B. Brown or Joe A. Brown, if another Joe Brown voted in another state, they would take their vote away. That's what I mean. Republicans have historically always stolen votes by suppressing. Now, Hillary, on the other hand, she's done everything. I mean, we can go on for days. But let's be very clear. The poll workers are partisan. I don't know if you've ever worked in poll or talked to poll workers or ever been involved in a political campaign before. But the poll workers are indeed partisan. The people in charge of these things are indeed partisan. And people say, well, why? Why would she do that? Right? Why would she steal Detroit and risk getting caught? Well, first of all, when has Hillary ever faced consequences for anything she's ever done, ethically, morally, or legally wrong? Do you really feel like she would be held accountable? Like, let's be honest. So no, she didn't have a fear of being caught. And if she got caught, she damn sure doesn't have a fear of being prosecuted. So then what's next? Why would she need to steal Detroit? Well, once again, you do your research, ladies and gentlemen, and you watch the primaries. If you watch the primaries and you watched what happened in Michigan, you would know damn well why she needed to steal Detroit. At least steal more votes than she initially would have gotten. Hillary Clinton, who thought she had a 15 or 20 point lead in Michigan, got her ass handed to her in the Democratic primary in Michigan, with Flint and Detroit overwhelmingly voting for Bernie Sanders. Those cities were hardcore. I mean, I'm talking about they remember because they thought that Hillary Clinton had the black vote locked up, but that wasn't the case. Hillary Clinton got her butt handed to her thanks to Flint and Detroit specifically, and the rural areas outside of these places that leaned Republican and therefore tended to vote for Bernie Sanders as per the correlation that we've seen throughout the rest of the primary. And so, obviously, she knew in the Republican dominant area she wasn't going to win. She was going to get destroyed. There was no chance in hell. But not only did she promise to come back to Flint and never mention Flint again, never came back. Her husband was part of NAFTA, and she said so proudly and boldly how she stood behind her husband's trade plan that destroyed millions or hundreds of thousands of jobs in Michigan, Detroit specifically. But she also never campaigned in Michigan. She never went. She never went there. Whereas, if you all recall, Donald Trump did go there. Donald Trump stood in front of a plant, and vowed to bring manufacturing jobs back. That's pretty powerful. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but that was pretty small. I mean, pretty smart. So, she knew, just like Barack Obama, she would have to have closer to 600,000 than 500,000. So of course, she cheated. This isn't rocket science. If you look at the correlations and the patterns, you know that Trump wouldn't even be able to. I don't even know if I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think Trump knows how to steal an election. That's if I've said this from the beginning, because there has been precincts where Trump has marginally gotten more votes than he actually won. When I say marginally, I'm talking about in Milwaukee, I believe Milwaukee County, there was in the first day of the recount, there was like 25,000 votes stolen, and like 3,500 of them were stolen from Trump, and then like the rest were Hillary. So, but I've told people constantly that I believe that Trump doesn't know how to steal an election, but Republicans in Republican states that are running for local office do know how to steal elections. They are very talented at stealing elections, actually. They know how to suppress votes, and they know how to, and he's going to be a beneficiary of their rigging. So, like, I want to be clear about that. I do think that Trump doesn't really know how to steal an election. I think that's giving him more credit than he deserves. Now, same thing's happening in Pennsylvania right now. A recount's being attempted, but Pennsylvania is fighting it with every last breath they have. Now, in Michigan, the federal judge had the audacity to say, it doesn't look like there's any sign of election fraud here, folks. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Had to take a drink on that one. So, after machines had been tampered with, more votes had been casted or counted than votes that had been casted, and there's no sign of election fraud. Okay. Now, many of you may wonder even further, well, why does this mean that Hillary Clinton is probably the prime suspect, even though we have all the information, we have all the numbers? Well, probably because whenever Jill Stein initiated this recount, and I told people from the beginning, I know exactly what she's doing. She's about to expose election fraud for everybody. Everybody getting exposed. And people make legitimate points saying, well, George Soros helped to fund this. And I agree. He wanted Hillary in power. And I honestly think that these dumb elites, because these are the same people who thought that Hillary Clinton had a 99% chance of winning, thought that Bernie was not the guy to win. These are the same people. So they're not smart. Being rich does not mean you're smart. Being rich and that old means you were probably white and you inherited your money at a very young age and you kept it. Like, that doesn't mean you're smart. So George Soros probably like, yeah, we'll fund this because Trump's going down. We'll put Hillary in power. We'll start our proxy wars. We'll have Russia and Syria and Assad and Iraq and all these people bowing on our knees while we sell the world oil and I profit. Oh, shit, Hillary, you stole that much? I thought you stole. We told you to steal a little bit. A little bit. You're making me look bad. It makes me look like I work for Trump now. Like, that's what's happening right now. They really don't know. They don't know. So yeah, George Soros probably funded it. But yeah, George Soros didn't expect this outcome. And Hillary Clinton, although all these people supported this and said, Hillary, we want to help you. We want to help. Her supporters, well, throw money at you, Jill. Just make sure Hillary gets elected. And Hillary Clinton's like, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this. Yo, stop. Shut up. Jill. I'll take you out to dinner later. Just stop. Oh yeah. I guess I'll approve of the recount. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Never to come out again. Never speaks about it. Like after all this election hacking. Guess who? The only time, and this is something I'm gonna cover too in the show. The only time that Hillary Clinton has come out since initially just kind of okaying the recount is when she said that fake news is dangerous. Now, that is irony for you. Fake news is dangerous. As per Hillary Clinton. Well, you know what, Hillary Clinton? You are right. Considering I was one of the few that were calling your polls biased. That were calling you out, looking at the numbers, looking at the math, looking at the sample sizes. I did my research. I did my homework. Richard Sharnon, excellent mathematician and statistician, did his homework. I mean, there were legitimate analysts out there doing their homework, doing the math, looking at the fact that you had the largest Democratic exit of all time. Looking at the fact that polls that have been historically 100% accurate in predicting the outcome of elections were saying that you were going to get demolished by Bernie Sanders and therefore had no chance of beating Donald Trump because he was bringing in more people and he won through popularity. He won through the galvanization of a working class white people who are the dominant force in this country. Let's be very clear. Bernie Sanders was the only chance of defeating Donald Trump because he was galvanizing people not in the same way, but using the same methodology by making promises to take down the establishment. Now, you had an opportunity to do the right thing for the party and for yourself. And people like myself called it, told her supporters, saying, okay, so we're really not going to count 18 to 35 when we're doing these polls? So we're really not going to, who are you questioning? What is the methodology? Look at this, look at that. And everybody ignored the poll. No, that poll isn't biased. That poll, Snopes isn't biased. Google hadn't been bought off, even though they made an article saying that Hillary Clinton bought them off. Like, let's ignore all this other stuff. Let's ignore all of that. Hillary Clinton's going to win with her 150 turnout. When she was in Nevada, doing rallies and not paying union workers, paying the heads of the unions to send their union workers to campaign rallies, pretending to be supporting her, and they thought they were going there for work. This is what was happening with Hillary Clinton's campaign, and people were surprised. We're seeing the results of democracy when you skip steps. We skipped Bernie Sanders, which was possibly, this man legitimately, if you've read the numbers, if you understand world politics and the domination we would have had if Bernie Sanders was allowed to implement his plans, we would have been damn near a utopian society. as far as education is concerned, as far as healthcare is concerned, as far as economic viability and availability is concerned, as far as, I mean, everything from daycare, maternity leave, paternity leave, things that are essential to a functioning society. We skipped a step. And now we are seeing a ripple effect, whether it be in the Supreme Court, whether it be in the United States Congress, whether it be in North Carolina Assembly, whether it be in Ohio, where they're killing the ability to get abortion. We're seeing the results because people think if we got out and voted, just, don't vote for Trump and that will win you the election. Just don't vote for Trump. No, that wasn't enough. Trump had his supporters. They were not going anywhere. He broke all the Republican records. They weren't going anywhere. But you know what? I have an idea, everybody. Let's follow Mr. President Barack Hussein Obama and let's blame the Russians. Let's blame the Russians. Had to be the Russians. I know I actually haven't talked about Russians the entire primary process. I actually never talked about Russians. I can't actually remember Barack Obama ever mentioning the word Russia in public in almost ever. His entire presidency. I watched him pretty closely for 8 years. And I was young when he got elected. I think I was like 18 or 19 years old. And he never mentioned Russia, literally. Up until the primary ended and the convention came. And Gucci for 2 dropped DNC leaks. Oh, snaps. It got real. Man, when I tell you, I remember exactly where I was at when that happened. I was in Philadelphia speaking. I was going to speak at the convention, at a protest in City Hall about the convention. And me and my associates, my partners in crime, Elizabeth Beck, Lee Beck, and Jared Beck, the creators of the DNC fraud suit, if any of you are a part of that. We were laying there and we were laughing like, oh snaps, it just got real. And it did, because the whole world was watching, and although CNN did not want to cover it, and they were trying their damnedest to keep it off the air, you had people staging walkouts or sit-ins, you had protests, fiery protests outside of the convention. I mean, it was the worst, and CNN tried to cover it, but guess what? The rest of the world saw it. Now, Barack Obama actually said in an article in the New York Times, or he said it in a press conference, but an article in the New York Times in October. This is what's ironic about the whole thing. Trump, you need to accept that election fraud is impossible and stop whining. Oh my Jesus, Buddha, and Allah. I can't believe those words came. After all of the consistent and constant whining after this election, this is the same man who told Donald Trump, we are too advanced of a country for election fraud to happen. And now putting out fallacious claims about Putin directly. First of all, Putin ain't that talented. I doubt he's like, I know he worked for the KGB, but I don't think Putin was like a certified computer hacker. But now, there's been articles over the last couple of days. One by NBC claiming that 2 anonymous sources said that Putin was the one who was directly involved. And in my head, I was like, I've noticed a pattern about these type of things. Whenever the media or the establishment starts gaslighting and focusing with these weird headlines like anonymous sources, let me premise by saying, first of all, if anybody in their life had ever said once, we have an anonymous source, if a USN Cut or the Young Turks or any other, or myself, an independent media source said, we have an independent source, an anonymous source that says that Hillary Clinton's planning on committing election fraud. Yeah, we get laughed off the internet. That's not a damn headline at all. It's not a headline, but they made it a headline. Now, in my head, I know what this means. Something big just happened, and they're trying to distract us from it. This is classic. I mean, it's the exact. I mean, it's the perfect pattern, and you can see it. It's 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Gucci for two drops leaks. It's Russia. We found out later, thanks to amazing supporters like you all who send me, links, articles, because I can't keep up with all of it myself. But what we saw was that they can't associate of WikiLeaks, really good friend also of Assange, former British ambassador Craig Murray, I believe was his name, said, no, Russia had nothing to do with it, first of all. Second of all, I actually was one of the people who flew to D.C., met in this particular location in the park, took the files that were printed off from authorized personnel that belonged to the damn either the U.S. government or the Democratic Party, and I hopped on my plane and flew back. And oh, by the way, I wasn't the only one. And I did my pickup in September, but there were more pickups before and after. This was in an article by the Daily Mail UK. And if you doubt their credibility, then I'm sorry for you. So this is what I would call headline news. Don't you agree? True or false? True or false? This is what I would call headline news. I mean, hell, CNN puts false news up all the time and calls it a headline. This is breaking news. Anonymous sources say stuff. Okay, but this man willing to put his career on the line, like I said, British ambassador to Uzbekistan, who was, he actually faced reprimands because he kept calling out the Uzbekistani government for human rights violations. That is why he is no longer the British ambassador to Uzbekistan. This man is extremely credible and well known in the United Kingdom, apparently. He comes out and tells it all and says, no, Russia had absolutely nothing to do with it. Tells us the location that he picked up these WikiLeaks. And we're talking about anonymous sources being news. So this article was released in the Daily Mail right before NBC gaslighted us with the anonymous sources. And then, of course, it gets so much better. So as most of you know, Hannity actually interviewed Julian Assange, who many thought was dead because every time he disappears, everybody thinks he's dead. I feel like sometimes he just needs a break from, near being plotted on all the time. He probably takes himself away from all that. Like, you need a break, right? So Julian Assange comes up on Hannity. Now, if I recall, them right-wingers, they love Hannity. So this thing gets shared everywhere. People who love Assange, listening. People who are right-wing and tired of Obama's BS, listening. Trump supporters, listening. And Hannity lets Julian Assange tell it all. The story, everything. Now, what do you think happens the next day? Or later on that evening, actually? Yep, same old. Director James Comey puts his name out there because, like everybody else said, like I was saying yesterday, if you watch any of my YouTube videos, like Benjamin Dixon was saying it yesterday. Debbie Losing Man saying progressive, Claudia Starr, Tim Black, everybody anonymous sources. So anonymous sources versus Craig Murray, associate of WikiLeaks, telling you directly where he got the WikiLeaks from, telling you they don't belong to Russia, telling you everything about the situation. So James Comey had to throw himself out there like, yo, nah. I know everybody's quoting that article from the FBI statement in the New York Times in October saying that we said that there's no connection. But nah, I'm saying now, as James Comey, that there is a connection. Sorry, homie, that's not what your Office of Director of National Intelligence says, who was ahead of all of y'all little partners, your friends, your little conspiracy group between the CIA, who wants to remain anonymous all the time, and you, James Comey, when none of your FBI agents ever support anything you say, and whoever else is involved, including the president. The overseer, Office of Director of National Intelligence, said no, that's not true. This isn't true. 2 days ago said this. No, it's not true. Stop saying this. And this is the guy who has to be consulted before any decisions regarding intelligence are made. We're getting gaslighted because the truth is coming out. Right after the interview with Hannity, Comey comes out. Now, the question of the year would then become, well, why? Because some of you would probably be asking, why hasn't Julian Assange's name even been uttered by Hillary Clinton, by Barack Obama, by the mainstream media? Well, if you haven't noticed, they tend to do that. They silence their greatest threats and then create maximum visibility for arbitrary, insignificant misinformation. They did it with Bernie Sanders, the biggest threat to the establishment. Actually, I think he was more than the biggest threat to the establishment. I think he was the threat to every single elite power in the world, and they knew it. He has Facebook censoring us now. That's how dangerous this man was. So they silenced him. And after that didn't work, they ridiculed him. They limited him to debate. They limited his visibility on television. They limited Jill Stein. And then after that didn't work, obviously, they ridiculed her, tried to call her anti-vaccine, which there's no legitimate quote from her that supported that statement or that theory. Then they silenced, Hillary Clinton never, ever, they just stopped mentioning Wikileaks on, they tried not to mention Gucci for two on, during the national convention. That's why most of you all don't know about it, who have just recently been paying attention. A lot of people know about Wikileaks, but people actually do not know that the reason that Wikileaks started sending off the DNC emails was because that there's an actual algorithm. I think he called it like SCATO. Assange explains it. He calls it like SCATO algorithm or SCATO. I can't remember the name of the algorithm, but it's a specific algorithm that's based off of what the media reports, what's popular on social media, what's popular in the news, etc., etc. So Assange said that what happened when Gucci for two, who did actually hack the DNC, he's from Romania, when he put the information out, and although CNN wouldn't report it, the rest of the world, the mainstream media across the world and the social media across the world, this was a national, if y'all recall, world trending Twitter topic. It punched a hole in that censorship by our mainstream media, and that is what it released the initial leaks of WikiLeaks. And so Obama is actually trying to equivocate an actual hack by Gucci for two, who is Romanian, to Julian Assange in WikiLeaks. Julian Assange, who was the editor-in-chief, who is in Ecuador, whose internet is so slow, he wouldn't be able to hack a Facebook profile, let alone hack the emails of DNC agents, emails of John Podesta, and so on. So that's even more proof that we're being gaslighted, because Obama never mentioned Gucci for two's name. He never mentioned Julian Assange's name. And if you think he's connected to Russians, why don't you just say his name? Just say his name. Let people do their own research. He's not going to do that. If y'all did your research, then you would look up the videos of Julian Assange. You would look up the fact that he openly says Russia has nothing to do with this, and he explains exactly how the emails got released. He also explains that they tried to actually get the emails of the RNC, but it was so they were successful in getting that information, and it was just not really that juicy. It's the Republicans being Republican. It didn't mean the destruction of world affairs. Like, that's probably a little bit more important. And he explains that they have millions of emails from governments across the world. This is not new. He's the editor-in-chief of WikiLeaks, and you never utter his name? That makes absolutely no sense if you want people to be educated, right? They don't want you looking his name up. They're not going to say his name. They're not going to want you to look up the fact that the Democrats were commending Julian Assange for exposing the Republicans, Dick Cheney and George Bush, and Julian Assange being the very reason that George Bush and Dick Cheney can't leave the country right now because they're war criminals. That is Julian Assange who did that. Democrats who are listening, establishment candidates who are establishment propagators who are listening, Hillary Clinton fans who are listening, Barack Obama fans who are listening. This man is the reason George Bush and Dick Cheney can't leave the country because he got them called out and tried for the war crimes and the genocide of Muslims across the world. That is the type of man Julian Assange is. And the Democrats don't want you looking up the fact that they commended Julian Assange for what he had done. They don't want you looking up videos. They don't want you reading the articles. They don't want you understanding and finding out that the United Nations has completely exonerated him a couple of months ago. And they said the British Embassy is currently holding Julian Assange against his will. The United Nations verified that these leaks were not hacks, but given to Assange's associates through authorized personnel. And therefore, this was merely a case of investigative journalism, something that we expected American journalists to still be capable of, but obviously that's not the case. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why the rhetoric of Obama, Hillary Clinton, who is, for whatever reason, refusing to speak on election fraud. Why do you think that she hasn't come out and said, like, everybody else in the country who's been dealing with election fraud? I know because North Carolina is one of them. I'm not living there currently, but that's my home state. So I know because Pat McCrory and Roy Cooper wouldn't shut up about it. They wouldn't shut up about election fraud. So when I hear the word election fraud, you try to say the election fraud benefited Trump via Putin. Why aren't you talking about it? Why aren't you standing up and saying, Pennsylvania, you better let Jill Stein do that recount. Michigan, you know there's election fraud, and I didn't do that stuff in Detroit. It was Trump. Why is he talking about that? Why aren't they bringing up Julian Assange's name? Why aren't they letting you decide for yourself? Because it's all about increasing the visibility of insignificant, arbitrary misinformation and decreasing the visibility of threats. That is what the Democratic establishment is about. And it is scary. It is scary because right now we have currently the most popular president in history. And people are hanging on his every word because of it. It's funny. People used to joke about him being an antichrist all the time. And I used to like, Obama? Really? And like, this is in high school. Obama? Yeah, I know. Now, the irony of that. I wish I could tell my former self, bro, it might be true. It might be true, kid. Like, on the way to class. It might be true. Obama, for whatever reason, is he's gaslighting. It's crazy what we're seeing right now. And if you're not scared, if you're one of those Democrats who are scared of Russia, then you should talk to some Russians. Putin has his problems, and I'm not really a huge fan of his, but Putin isn't as bad as our leaders are, and I can say that actually pretty confidently. Putin isn't trying to start World War III. Like, yes, Putin has tried to invade certain countries in his area. Yeah, agreed. But, you know, we also did the same thing in Iraq and in Afghanistan. And now we're bombing the hell out of Syria. And we kind of control people's elections. And we tell people that if you mess with Israel, we'll blow you up. And so, like, yeah, Putin may, like, invade a country, or try to, or at least establish his dominance. But, you know, we, like, we genocide people, and that's not an exaggeration. We are literally in the midst of a Muslim Holocaust, and that we've perpetuated by false narratives like quote unquote WMDs. Now, it's ironic that we keep hearing Russia, 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 no proof. And they just justify it, which is a logical fallacy to just say, this authority says this, so believe what I'm saying. It's a logical fallacy. No justification, no evidence. Literally, it's the opposite of evidence. It's actually evidence proving the total opposite. Silence, silence, silence by the mainstream media. And I remember in middle school hearing the word WMDs all the time. And then they push that phrase we hear all too often now. The undefeatable phrase is what I like to call it. War on terror. A war on an idea. And now Barack Obama comes out and says, we have to do something about Russia. Hopefully it amounts to nothing. When Trump won, we were like DEFCON 3, I think, and now we're like at DEFCON 1 again, so we're good. And hopefully it amounts to nothing. Hopefully Obama gets the hell out and shuts up. Hopefully. That's all we can really hope for. But if you're not scared, first of all, that they silence these things, these truths, these facts, easily searchable facts. If you're not scared that the media simply just echoes, posts false headlines, and nobody can challenge them. Like I said, if US Uncut, the Young Turks, myself, Tim Black, anybody said that, anonymous sources said that election fraud happened, we'd be kicked off the internet. If y'all aren't scared that we are losing, our country is losing, even after we have all the access to this information, we're losing the ability to think logically, and we're walking, and we're like just people like zombies walking and waiting for Mr. Obama and his pretty smile to tell them when to turn. And it seems like those of us who are reading, we can't do anything about it. It's scary. We should be, but you keep fighting, you keep moving on, and you keep educating. Shout out to Standing Rock. Please keep fighting. If you're on the way out there, just remember, make sure you can take care of yourself and make sure that you're ready to work. Make sure that you don't have to use any more of the donations that you are that are already there. Go help if you can. Just keep fighting. We're still here with you, Standing Rock, and don't forget that. For those of you, just really quick, because we're about to come to an end in a second. I'm going to post my link in the comment section in the description of both videos. Please, if you want to become a monthly contributor, you can donate $10 to $20 that you will never probably realize is gone. And it will help us prepare with better equipment, better cameras. Helps me get to where I need to be to report what I need to report to you all. In amazing ways. It helps me bring on more staff to mi Casa su Casa. We now have a social media director, which is why we've been doing so well. Shout out to Eric Scott. We're bringing on a team of researchers soon. And so if you can become a monthly contributor, it would be amazing just for journalism and for bringing forth the truth. And also, if you can't do that, we do have an option also available for just a one-time donation whenever you can. So I'll put that at the bottom of the links on both YouTube and Facebook and in the video description. So we are done. Thank you once again for watching mi Casa su Casa. Thank you, YouTube. And it's been amazing. It really has. It's just, like I said, can I get a hand clap? First YouTube live stream. First one ever. This is awesome. The love has been outpouring. We're off the air now for everybody. We're off the air. So I just wanted, like I said, thank you all once again. This is just that the videos we've been posting, and it's been exhausting. I do all this pretty much by my lonesome. Eric Scott has just been brought on, and I had to teach myself a lot, and I'm still learning, and I have like good people helping me, in the background to bring us here, but we're not done, right? We're not done. We have a long way to go. We're going to put more videos out. We're going to give you better quality videos. We're going to get better production. We're going to get more cameras so we can do more live streams. We're going to get reporters and journalists out into the field. We're going to run for office. We're not letting ourselves being put into a box. None of us. I mean, that goes for myself, the people that I'm involved with. The people that are involved in my show right now are the same ones helping me plan for my political career in the future. The same ones that help us push forward. So we're not here just talking to you. We're here trying to bring forth action, and hopefully we want to lead by example. And I need you all to keep pushing and supporting and sharing and doing what you do, so that I can keep my energy up, because it's exhausting. And you know how the holidays get. Man, it's bad. It gets bad. But you know what? Like I said, I need you all to help me keep posting, keep sending me links, keep sending me videos, keep sending me information, keep viewing, and keep educated and aware more than anything else. Like I said, I'll post the link to my monthly donations in both video descriptions, and I will also post, if you can't do monthly, but like I said, $10 or $20, you won't miss it, and you will help contribute to an amazing cause. But if you can't do that monthly, well, you know what? You can do a one-time donation, and we will appreciate it, absolutely appreciate it all the same. We still have staff we have to pay. We have a couple of sponsors, but nothing. It's hard to get sponsors when you're telling the truth. Believe that. So please help out with whatever you can, and go forward and share this video and keep sharing knowledge the way you all have been, and making this job so much fun to do. For the YouTube supporters who are viewing for the first time, thank you so much for tuning in. We've gotten over 500 subscribers in the last 2 weeks. It's absolutely insane, and we hope to keep growing with you, so that we can grow together. Facebook Live family, always a pleasure. Absolutely, always. Keep sending me information, because obviously this is a developing story with the Assange and all this other crazy stuff going on. So keep sending me information, because I have a job. So fortunately, the bills do not pay themselves, and I don't make enough in journalism to pay them either. So to work I go tomorrow. But keep me updated. Keep the information coming, and have a good night, everybody. Okay.